In the dark space between two dying suns, war had burned for centuries. Countless species fought for power, for honor, for survival. Ships the size of cities drifted like broken bones across the void. Every planet carried scars of fire and hatred. And no one remembered how it all began. Among the stars, hope had become a forgotten word. But that changed the day he arrived, a single human, drifting in a small ship too old to be flying. His name was Daniel Hale, though history would remember him by another name, the Peacemaker. When his ship appeared near the border of the Krovan and Telari war zone, both sides thought it was a trick. Human ships were rare beyond their own system, and none had dared to enter a war sector in over 100 years. Yet, there he was, alone. No weapons, no escorts, no flag. Just an old silent ship and a single signal repeating again and again. "I come to talk." The Krovan warlord saw it first. His soldiers laughed. A human? They must have gone mad. The Telari scouts saw it next. A spy, they said. A trap. Both sides prepared to shoot him out of the stars. But before they could, something strange happened. His ship sent out a code, not a weapon code, but an ancient peace signal, one that hadn't been used in the galaxy for centuries. It was a message of unity written in every known language. It said only 5 words, "Let us end this madness." And for a brief second, even war itself seemed to pause. No one fired. The Krovan warlord ordered him captured instead. The Telari agreed, wanting to know what this strange human wanted. And so Daniel Hale was taken aboard a battle station larger than any city on Earth. Soldiers from both sides stood ready to kill him if he moved wrong. He stepped out of his ship calmly. He looked thin, tired, and far too small to stand among giants. Yet, there was something in his eyes. Not fear, not arrogance. Something deeper, something unreadable. "You came alone," the Krovan warlord growled. "Why?" "Because peace needs no army," Daniel said softly. His voice was steady, almost gentle. "Only someone willing to listen." The warlord laughed, a deep, metallic sound. "You think words can stop 1,000 years of blood?" Daniel looked around the massive hall filled with alien soldiers. "No," he said, "but maybe they can remind you why you started bleeding in the first place." The Telari leader, tall and silver-skinned, leaned forward. "You humans think yourselves wise," she said coldly. "What makes you think you can change us?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Because I've seen what hate does," he said. "And I've seen what hope can do." There was silence. No one knew how to answer him. They locked him in a small chamber, not sure if he was a fool or a danger. But as the hours passed, strange things began to happen. The war station's communication logs showed that soldiers from both sides, Krovan and Telari, were listening to his recorded message secretly. They were curious. They were tired. They wanted to believe there was another way. Daniel didn't beg. He didn't argue. He just spoke, calmly, honestly, about what war takes away. About families lost, children forgotten, worlds burned for pride. He told stories of Earth, of nations that once fought for centuries but learned to live side by side. "Peace is not the absence of war," he said. "It's the courage to stop fighting when you still can." One by one, the guards began to listen. Then the officers. Then even the warlord himself. Something about the human's voice cut deeper than any blade. But there were those who hated him for it. Some wanted him dead. A secret council from both sides met in the shadows. "This human is dangerous," they said. "If soldiers start believing in him, the war will end, and our power with it." So they planned to make him disappear. That night, the station lights flickered. A squad of assassins entered his cell. They carried silent blades and wore no insignia. Daniel looked up as they came. He didn't scream. He didn't run. He just said quietly, "Even if you kill me, peace will find you." The first assassin hesitated, just for a second. It was enough. A sudden explosion shook the station. The assassins fell back. The lights died. In the darkness, Daniel was gone. No one knew how he escaped. Some said a Telari guard helped him. Others claimed the Kraven themselves turned against the council. But one thing was clear: when the lights came back on, Daniel's ship was gone, and in its place, a message echoed across every channel in the system. It said only this: "The war ends soon. Choose your side, peace or oblivion." And then, for the first time in centuries, both armies hesitated before firing another shot. Because somewhere in the stars, a single human had vanished, and with him, the promise of something greater. The message spread like fire through the stars. The war ends soon. Choose your side, peace or oblivion. Every ship, every station, every planet heard it. It played in the language of every species, every voice calm and human. No one knew where it came from. No one could trace it. But everyone recognized the voice. It was Daniel Hale. The Kraven warlord smashed his command screen in anger. "Find him," he roared. "Find the human before his lies destroy the fleet." Across the stars, the Telari leader gave the same order. "If this human is alive, bring him to me," she said. Alive or dead, he cannot be ignored. Scouts and hunters filled the space lanes. Search drones swept through wreckage and asteroid belts. Every captain wanted the reward. Yet somehow, Daniel was always one step ahead, or maybe he was never there at all. Rumors began to grow. Some said they saw a small ship appear between battle lines, broadcasting peace messages before vanishing into warp. Others swore they saw a man in a simple suit, walking calmly through burning corridors as if fire itself could not touch him. No one knew what was true anymore. But something was changing. For the first time in hundreds of years, soldiers began refusing to fire. A Kraven fighter pilot turned off his targeting system in the middle of battle. "I heard his voice," he said. "He told me, you don't have to die today." The Telari fleet reported strange interference, human code hidden in their comms, whispering words of peace before every battle. The admirals called it sabotage. The soldiers called it hope. In a hidden sector, far from the front lines, Daniel Hale sat inside his old ship. The lights were dim, the air cold. His body was weak, his arm burned from the explosion that helped him escape. But his eyes were alive, focused. On his screen glowed hundreds of channels, both Kraven and Telari frequencies. He listened to them, learned their pain, their stories, their reasons for fighting. He didn't hate them. He understood them. "This war is not about who is right," he whispered to himself. "It's about who can't forgive." His ship's AI, an old, cracked program named Echo, spoke softly. "Daniel, your vitals are dropping. You need rest." He smiled faintly. "I'll rest when they stop killing each other." Outside, his signal pulsed through the void again, spreading faster than light, a message to every soul still listening. Peace is not weakness. It's the last act of strength. Meanwhile, on the Kraven homeworld, Warlord Dravik watched the reports. Thousands of soldiers were disobeying orders. Some refused to attack unarmed ships. Others even defected, flying into neutral zones created by Daniel's broadcasts. "Impossible," Dravik growled. "One human cannot undo 1,000 years of war." But deep down, even he felt the doubt growing. Across the galaxy, in the Telari capital, Commander Seragon stood on her balcony, watching the twin moons rise. She had fought since she was 16. Her people taught her that Kravens were monsters. But she had seen one die holding a picture of his family, whispering the same words her people used for, "Forgive me." For the first time in her life, she cried. And in the silence of her tears, she heard Daniel's voice echoing in her mind, "We're not born enemies. We're made into them." Seragon made a choice that would change everything. She opened a secret channel and sent a message to the one place her own people would never look, the Kraven flagship. It read, "I wish to talk about peace." When the Kravens received it, chaos broke out. Their generals screamed betrayal. Their soldiers shouted for war. But the warlord, Dravik, did not destroy the message. He kept it. And when the night came, he replied, "I will listen." The first peace talk in centuries was about to happen, in secret, in a dead zone between stars. Only 2 ships would arrive, one from each side. No armies, no weapons. Just 2 leaders, and a human watching from the shadows. Daniel's ship drifted in the darkness nearby. His heart was weak, but his hope was strong. "They're finally talking," he whispered. "All I had to do was remind them they were still alive." Echo spoke again, her voice flickering. "If they find you, they will kill you." Daniel smiled sadly. "Then let them. If peace begins with my death, it's worth it." When Dravik and Saren finally met, they did not shake hands. They stood in silence, staring at each other across the cold air. Years of hate, centuries of loss, all standing between them like a ghost. And then, a voice came through both of their comms, clear, calm, human. "Now," Daniel said, "let's begin." But before he could say another word, alarms screamed across the ships. Unknown vessels were approaching, dozens of them. It was the Council of War, the secret alliance that had tried to kill Daniel. They had discovered the peace meeting. They were coming to destroy it, to make sure war never ended. Dravik and Saren looked at each other in shock. The transmission ended. Daniel's ship powered up its engines. He knew what he had to do. "Echo," he said quietly, "calculate intercept course." "Daniel, that's suicide." "I know," he replied. "But maybe that's what peace needs." As the council ships closed in, Daniel's tiny craft turned toward them, glowing brighter than a star. His voice echoed across every channel in the system. "If you want war, you'll have to go through me." And for the first time in galactic history, both armies stopped to watch a single human charge into the heart of darkness. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. Daniel Hale's small ship moved alone toward the oncoming fleet, a storm of warships armed with weapons strong enough to burn planets. The Council of War had come to end peace before it could begin. Inside his ship, alarms screamed. Echo's voice trembled. "Daniel, their weapons are charged. You cannot stop them." "I don't need to stop them," he whispered. "I just need them to see." He turned on his transmitter, linking to every open frequency across the system. His face appeared on every screen, human, bruised, tired, but unbroken. "I am Daniel Hale," he said. "You have fought this war for 1,000 years. You've forgotten why it began. You've forgotten who you were before hate consumed you. But I haven't." The Council's flagship answered with cold silence. Then a voice came, deep, cruel, metallic. "Peace is a lie, human. War is the natural order. Only the strong survive." Daniel's ship trembled as the enemy fleet locked on. He closed his eyes for a second. "Maybe," he said softly, "but strength means nothing without mercy." He sent one last signal, a live broadcast to every soldier, every citizen, every child watching across the stars. It showed the Council fleet aiming their guns at a single unarmed man. Daniel's voice came through, "If they destroy me today, remember this moment. Remember who fired first." The Council gave the order. Thousands of beams of light tore through the void, heading straight for him. But something happened that no one expected. At the very edge of the battle zone, Kraven and Telari ships, once enemies, began to move. Their captains had heard Daniel's message. They couldn't let him die. "Protect the human," someone shouted. Within seconds, hundreds of ships from both sides turned their weapons toward the Council fleet. The stars erupted in chaos. Blue and red energy lit the darkness. For the first time, Kravens and Telari fought side by side. The old enemies had chosen peace, and they would defend it. Daniel's ship was hit, spinning through debris. Fire spread inside. Echo's voice grew faint. "Daniel, we are losing power." "I know," he said, coughing. "Hold together a little longer." He looked through the cracked window at the 2 great fleets fighting not against each other, but for something greater. It was everything he had dreamed of. The Council flagship powered up its main cannon, a weapon capable of vaporizing moons. Daniel saw it charging, glowing brighter than the suns behind it. If it fired, both the Krovan and Telari fleets would die. The fragile peace would end in fire. He took a deep breath. "Echo," he said softly, "reroute all power to the engines." "Daniel, that will kill you." He smiled weakly. Peace was never supposed to be easy. The old ship's engines screamed to life. Daniel gripped the controls, eyes steady. He sent one last message, a whisper across all channels. "Forgive each other. Live for more than war." Then his ship turned toward the Council flagship and accelerated. Faster, faster, beyond what any human craft should handle. The hull cracked, lights died, but it didn't stop. From the Krovan bridge, Warlord Dravik watched in disbelief. "He's going to ram them." Saren, on her own ship, whispered. "No, he's going to save us." The moment stretched, endless, silent, as Daniel's ship became a streak of white fire. Then, in a flash brighter than creation, it struck the Council flagship. The explosion tore across the void. Light swallowed everything. Then, silence. When the light faded, the Council fleet was gone, vaporized. The Krovan and Telari ships floated in stunned silence. Every soldier, every captain, every watcher felt the same thing, grief and awe. There was no trace of Daniel's ship. Only dust, light, and an echo still playing through the comms. Peace is worth everything. For a long time, no one spoke. Then, quietly, Dravik opened a channel to Saren. "Commander," he said, voice shaking, "the human gave his life for us. What do we do now?" Saren looked at the stars where Daniel had vanished. "We do what he asked," she said. "We live." In the days that followed, the news spread across the galaxy. A human had sacrificed himself to stop the war. The name Daniel Hale became a legend, a symbol of courage, hope, and something the galaxy had forgotten: unity. Both races declared a ceasefire. Monuments were built on worlds once destroyed by war. And in the center of every one, the same words were carved in every language. "He fought not to win, but to make us remember." But deep in the quiet space where Daniel's ship had exploded, something moved. A faint signal, human code, pulsed weakly among the debris. Echo's voice, broken and fading, whispered into the void. "Survivor detected, coordinates locked, he's still alive." And far away, on an unknown world at the edge of the galaxy, a small escape pod crashed through an alien sky. Smoke rose from its side. Inside, a weak heartbeat flickered. The human wasn't gone. Not yet. The escape pod crashed through the clouds of a strange green sky, flames wrapping around its body like a falling star. It hit the ground hard, tearing through trees made of crystal and sand that shimmered like glass. Smoke rose in slow waves as silence returned to the forest. Inside the broken pod, Daniel Hale lay still. His suit was torn, his face pale, his breathing weak. But the heartbeat was there, faint, stubborn, human. Hours passed. The twin moons rose above the horizon, lighting the alien landscape with silver light. Strange creatures watched from the shadows, tall, thin beings with eyes that glowed softly blue. They whispered in a language older than the stars. One of them stepped forward. She was smaller than the rest, her eyes full of curiosity instead of fear. She touched the broken metal of the pod and flinched at the heat. "Alive," she said in her tongue. "He is alive." The others hesitated. "He is a starborn," one said. "From the wars." "Then he is dangerous," another warned. But the young one shook her head. "No. He fell alone." Carefully, they opened the pod. Smoke poured out, and Daniel's body slid into their arms. He was barely conscious, whispering words they didn't understand. They carried him to their village, a city of light built under floating stones that hummed like music. For 3 days, he drifted between life and death. Memories flashed through his mind, the explosion, the blinding light, the moment he thought he had died. Then, slowly, his eyes opened. The first thing he saw was the soft glow of alien faces looking down at him. The young one smiled. "Do not move. You are safe." Daniel tried to speak, but his throat was dry. "Where am I?" She hesitated. "You are on Viridia, the world between stars." He blinked weakly. He had never heard that name before. "How long have I been here?" "7 cycles," she said, which Daniel guessed meant 7 days. He tried to sit up but groaned in pain. His ribs ached, and his right arm was bandaged. The alien girl helped him gently. "You should rest," she said. "Your body is not ready." Daniel looked around the room. The walls were alive, glowing softly, breathing like gentle light. "Your people," he said slowly. "You're not part of the war?" She frowned. "War?" He nodded. "The Kraven and Telari. They fought for centuries. It's over now, I think." The girl tilted her head. "We have heard of the outer stars. But their war never reached Viridia. We are the keepers. We hide from the noise." Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why I survived. The galaxy must have sent me where peace still lives." Her name, he learned, was Lyra. She was a healer, and her people had lived on Viridia for thousands of years without ever joining the wars beyond their skies. They believed in harmony with their world, in silence, and in light. As days passed, Daniel began to walk again. He explored the floating gardens, the glowing rivers, and the sky that sang with energy. The Viridians watched him with quiet wonder. He told them about the stars, about the wars, and about the day peace finally came. But Lyra's eyes always darkened when he spoke. One night she said softly, "You think the war is over, Daniel. But it never truly ends." "What do you mean?" he asked. She led him to a tall crystal that stood in the center of the village. Inside it, light swirled like a storm. "We listen to the stars," she said. "And lately, they have been screaming again." Daniel stepped closer. Inside the crystal, faint images flickered, fleets moving, weapons firing, signals of battle. His chest tightened. "No, that can't be. They made peace." Lyra touched the crystal. "Somewhere, someone does not believe in your peace. A shadow grows." Daniel felt a cold fear. He had sacrificed everything, his ship, his body, his life, to end the war. But if someone was trying to start it again, then his mission wasn't finished. "Can you send a signal?" he asked urgently. "I need to contact them. I need to warn the galaxy." Lyra shook her head. "Our world is hidden by the veil. No signal can leave without breaking it." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then I'll find another way." Days turned into weeks. His strength returned. The Viridians helped him rebuild a small craft from the remains of his pod. They didn't understand his machines, but they trusted his heart. Lyra came to him one evening as he worked under the glowing moons. "If you break the veil," she said softly, "the shadows will find us." Daniel looked up, his eyes tired but steady. "If I don't, they'll find everyone else." She stepped closer. "Why do you fight so hard for people who are not your own?" He smiled faintly. "Because someone has to." The next morning, before the sun rose, Daniel finished the ship. It was small, fragile, but enough to reach the stars. He turned to Lyra. "Thank you," he said. "If I don't come back." "You will," she interrupted, placing a hand over his heart. "Because your light doesn't die. It travels." Daniel stepped into the craft, engines humming quietly. The veil around Viridia shimmered like mist, waiting to be broken. He took a deep breath. "Echo," he said softly into his helmet, hoping the old AI could still hear him. "Let's go home." And as the ship lifted through the glowing sky, Lyra watched the stars split open, and whispered a prayer to the man who carried peace in his hands. The small craft broke through the glowing mist of the veil, tearing open a path that hadn't been crossed in centuries. Energy rippled across the sky as the invisible shield of Viridia closed behind him, sealing the peaceful world once more in silence. Daniel's hands trembled on the controls. His systems flickered, half alive. The stars stretched around him again, cold, endless, familiar. "Echo," he whispered into the static. "Are you there?" For a moment, there was only silence. Then a faint, broken voice replied, "Daniel, connection, restored." A weak smile touched his face. "You never gave up, did you?" "Never," the AI answered. "We have much to discuss." Daniel leaned back. "Status. What's happening out there?" Echo processed the data, her voice fragmented but clear enough. "Peace did not last. Kraven and Telari fleets are moving again. But this time, they are not fighting each other." Daniel frowned. "Not fighting each other? Then who?" Before he could finish, the screen filled with new readings, unknown ships, large and fast, spreading across multiple sectors. Echo continued, "A third force. They call themselves the Architects. Their signals contain old council codes." Daniel's heart sank. The Council of War survived. Echo confirmed. Fragments of their fleet reformed. They claim you destroyed balance in the galaxy. They promise to restore it, through fear. Daniel stared into the endless dark. He had given his life once to stop a war. Now, the fire had returned, wearing a new face. "They'll burn everything again," he muttered. He turned the ship toward the nearest beacon, a Kraven outpost. If anyone still remembered what peace cost, it would be there. The outpost hung above a ruined moon, its lights flickering weakly. As Daniel approached, warnings filled his screen. "Unidentified vessel, state your purpose." He switched to open channel. "This is Daniel Hale." There was silence, then sudden confusion on the line. "That's impossible," a Kraven voice said. "The human is dead." "Not yet," Daniel replied calmly. "And if you want to stay alive, open your gates." Moments later, he landed inside the hangar. The soldiers stared as he stepped out, weak but standing, his suit still scarred from the crash. The Kraven commander approached slowly, disbelief in his eyes. You really are him." Daniel nodded. "I need to speak to your leaders. Now." They took him to the command hall, where screens showed fleets gathering, Kraven, Telari, and ships marked with the new symbol of the Architects, a circle split by flame. "Who are they?" Daniel asked. The commander's face darkened. "They appeared 2 months ago. Said the galaxy was weak under peace. They promised power, order, and revenge. Some of our own joined them." Daniel clenched his fists. So the old hatred found a new flag. He stepped closer to the main screen. "Where's Seren?" "The Telari leader." The commander hesitated. "She's alive, but missing. Her flagship vanished 3 days ago in Architect territory." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then that's where I'm going." "Alone?" the Kraven asked. "You can't fight a fleet." Daniel looked at him with tired eyes. "I'm not fighting. I'm reminding them why we stopped." He left the outpost before dawn. His small craft drifted through the darkness toward the Architect sector, a vast region of red stars and broken worlds. Wreckage floated everywhere, the bones of old wars turned into weapons again. Echo broke the silence. "Daniel, are you afraid?" He smiled faintly. "Every second. But fear means I still care." As he entered Architect space, a transmission came through. The voice was deep, mechanical, and filled with arrogance. "Human," it said, "you should have stayed dead." Daniel answered calmly. "I've died once already. What's one more time?" The screen flickered to reveal a figure, tall, armored, with half its body machine, half flesh. Its eyes glowed with hate. "I am Prime Architect Vorin," it said. "You ended our council. You broke the balance. Now, I rebuild it in fire." Daniel stared at him. "You're building nothing. You're just repeating the same mistake." Vorin laughed. Peace is weakness. Fear keeps order. You of all beings should understand that. Daniel leaned forward. I understand something better. Fear dies when hope stands up. Before Voron could respond, Daniel cut the transmission. His ship was small, his weapons few, but he had something the architects didn't: belief. He began transmitting again, broadcasting across all frequencies. This is Daniel Hale. I am alive. The architects want war. Don't follow them. Remember what we lost, and what we built. His message spread through the systems like a pulse of light. Some ignored it. Some mocked it. But many listened. On distant ships, old soldiers who had fought under his name paused their battle orders. A Krovan captain whispered, "He's alive." A Telari pilot wiped tears from her eyes. He came back. And somewhere deep inside the architect fleet, one ship went silent, refusing to fire. Voron's voice echoed in rage. Find him. Bring me his heart. Daniel smiled grimly. Let's see if you can catch a ghost. He pushed his small craft into warp, vanishing between the stars. But as he disappeared, a single signal followed, a tracking beacon hidden deep in his hull. The architects had marked him. And as Daniel flew into the dark, unaware of the danger behind him, one thing was clear: the war was coming again. But this time, peace wouldn't just need words. It would need a fight. Daniel Hale's ship moved through silent space, slipping between asteroid fields and dying stars. His mind was sharp, but his body still weak. Every breath reminded him of the explosion that should have ended his life. Yet he was alive, again, and the galaxy still needed him. He believed he was alone. But he wasn't. Behind him, far beyond radar range, 3 dark ships followed, invisible to scanners. They were the architects' hunters, machines born from war and hate, built to erase all signs of peace. Inside his small craft, Daniel studied the coordinates Echo had gathered. A faint distress signal was repeating across the Telari channel, an old code used only by Commander Saren. She's alive, Daniel said quietly. Echo's voice hummed softly. Signal origin, deep within architect territory. Probability of trap, 92%. Daniel smiled faintly. Then it's definitely her. He turned the ship toward the source. The closer he got, the darker the stars became. It felt like flying into a dead heartbeat. Finally, he saw it, a massive station floating above a shattered world. It wasn't Krovan or Telari design. It was pure architect, sharp edges, black metal, pulsing with red light. This is it, Daniel whispered. Echo, record everything. If we don't make it, someone has to know what happened. He approached slowly. The moment he entered the station's shadow, alarms blared through his cockpit. They've seen us, Echo warned. Before Daniel could react, blue energy nets burst from the station, wrapping around his ship like spiderwebs. Controls died. Power failed. His craft spun helplessly. Echo, he began, but the transmission cut. The ship shook violently and was pulled inside the station by magnetic force. Darkness. Silence. When Daniel woke, his hands were chained to a cold wall. The air was thin and metallic. The room glowed red. A door slid open. 2 armored guards entered, silent, machine-like. Between them walked Prime Architect Voron. His metallic eyes burned with cruel satisfaction. Welcome back, human, Voron said. The galaxy has missed you. Daniel glared at him. You should have stayed buried. Voron chuckled. You should have stayed dead. He stepped closer, metal boots echoing on the floor. You tried to bring peace. And look what it did. Chaos. Rebellion. Weakness. Entire species now question power. But soon, I will show them why fear must rule again. Daniel's voice was steady. You don't want peace because you can't control it. Voron leaned closer. And you? You think you can inspire peace by dying again? Daniel didn't answer. He stared at the floor, thinking. Every second he stayed alive was another second to find a way out. Then the door opened again. 2 guards entered, and behind them, someone Daniel never expected to see. It was Saren. But something was wrong. Her armor was dark, her eyes cold. She walked with the same silent rhythm as the architects. Daniel froze. Saren. She looked at him without emotion. You should not have come back, Daniel. His heart sank. No. Tell me you're not one of them. Voren smiled. She came to me willingly. When the peace collapsed, her own people turned on her. She saw truth in my order. Daniel shook his head. No. You're lying. Saren's voice was quiet, almost broken. The galaxy doesn't want peace, Daniel. It wants someone to follow. You gave them hope, but hope dies fast. Fear lasts longer. Daniel stepped forward, chains rattling. You taught me once that hope was stronger than hate. Don't tell me you've forgotten. For the first time, her eyes flickered, just for a second, with something human, something real. Voren noticed. His hand gripped her shoulder hard. Careful, Commander. He is poison. Daniel saw the pain in her eyes and realized something. She wasn't lost, not completely. He smiled weakly. You can still choose, Saren. You always could. Voren slammed his metal fist into Daniel's chest, throwing him to the floor. Enough, he roared. You will watch as I burn your peace from memory. He turned to the guards. Take him to the core. They dragged Daniel down a long corridor filled with machines and burning light. The core was the heart of the station, a massive reactor made from the remains of the old council's technology. It pulsed like a living star, hungry and alive. The guards locked Daniel onto a platform above the reactor. Voren's voice echoed through the speakers. When this core activates, it will send a shockwave through the system. Every ship, every world touched by your peace will be erased. And you, human, will die watching it happen. Daniel breathed slowly, eyes fixed on the light below. Maybe, he whispered, but I've seen what happens when people believe, and that can't be erased. Just then, a gunshot rang out. One of the guards fell. The second turned and was hit by another blast. Saren stood in the doorway, weapon shaking in her hands. Run, she said. Daniel stared in disbelief. You. No time, she said. I couldn't save peace, but I can save you. She shot the locks on his chains. The metal fell away. Voren's voice thundered through the intercom. Traitor. Saren grabbed Daniel's arm. Go. I'll hold them off. He hesitated. Come with me. She shook her head. Someone has to stop the core. Before he could argue, she shoved him toward the exit. You gave me hope once, Daniel. Let me give it back. The last thing he saw as he ran was Saren turning toward the core, weapon raised, fire in her eyes. The station began to shake. Explosions roared behind him. Daniel sprinted through smoke and flame, hearing Saren's final words echo in his head. Peace never dies, it just waits. He reached his ship as the station collapsed behind him. The engines roared to life. He flew out just as the entire structure exploded in a storm of red light. Echo's voice returned through the static. Daniel, are you alive? He stared at the fire fading behind him. Yes, he said quietly. But she's not. And as the stars reflected in his eyes, he whispered, I won't let her sacrifice be wasted. The stars were quiet again. But Daniel Hale knew silence never lasted long. The architects were not gone. Not yet. The explosion of the station had crippled them, but their leader, Prime Architect Voren, had escaped. Now, across the galaxy, fractured fleets were gathering once more. Some wanted revenge. Others wanted control. Only a few still believed in peace. Daniel's ship drifted above a dying moon. His eyes were tired, but his heart burned with purpose. Echo's voice broke the silence. Transmission incoming. Origin, Krovan command ship. Patch it through, Daniel said. The hologram flickered to life. It was Captain Rin, one of the few Kraven who had stayed loyal to him. Daniel, Rin said. The Telari are preparing to strike the remaining Architect forces. They want you to lead them. Daniel shook his head slowly. No more war, Rin. That's not what Saren died for. Rin's metallic eyes softened. Then what do you suggest? The galaxy is bleeding. Daniel stood, looking out at the stars. Then we stop the bleeding, together. He took a deep breath. Send a message to every ship, every world. Tell them to meet me at the ruins of the Citadel. If we're going to fight, we'll fight for peace, not for control. Hours later, thousands of ships gathered near the Citadel, once the heart of the Galactic Council, now nothing but floating debris. Kraven warships, Telari cruisers, human freighters, even small rebel crafts, all came, drawn by one human's name. Daniel appeared on every screen, standing tall despite his injuries. His voice was calm but filled with emotion. I know you're tired of war, he began. So am I. I've seen planets burn. I've seen friends die. And for what? To prove who's stronger? To show who's right. He paused, letting the silence speak. Saren gave her life to show us that peace isn't weakness. It's courage. It's hope. And if we lose that, then we've already lost everything. He pointed toward the void. The architects are still out there. But this time, we don't fight out of hate. We fight to protect what's left of us, our chance to be better. The transmission ended. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, one by one, ships powered up, not in anger, but in unity. The final battle had begun. Deep within the architect sector, Vorin stood inside a dark fortress built from the remains of the old station. His metallic body was cracked, half-burned, yet his mind burned brighter than ever. So the human still breathes, he muttered. Then I will end him myself. He raised his hand, and the entire architect fleet came to life. Millions of drones, carriers, and planet killers, all powered by the core's remains. Let the galaxy burn, Vorin said. When the two forces met, the stars disappeared beneath the fire. Energy blasts lit the void, ships collided, and debris rained like shooting stars. Daniel's small craft darted between explosions, Echo guiding every move. Vorin's flagship detected, Echo said. Center of the field. Take us in, Daniel ordered. He dodged enemy fire, weaving through chaos. Around him, Kraven and Telari fought side by side, protecting each other, something that had never happened before. Finally, he reached the massive black ship. It was the size of a city, its core glowing with red energy. Echo, Daniel said. One last time. The AI's voice was soft. With you till the end, Captain. Daniel accelerated, crashing his ship through the outer hull. Metal screamed. Flames erupted. He jumped from the cockpit, landing hard inside the corridor. His body was weak, but his will was stronger. Vorin was waiting for him, standing before the glowing reactor. Human, Vorin said coldly. You survive like a disease. Daniel raised his blaster. Then think of me as the cure. Vorin laughed, stepping forward. You can't kill me. I am machine. I am forever. Daniel's eyes were steady. So was hate, until someone believed in hope. They clashed. Sparks flew as Vorin's metallic claws struck. Daniel dodged, rolled, fired, each blast tearing metal from Vorin's frame. But the architect was powerful. He struck Daniel across the chest, sending him crashing to the floor. You cannot stop what was built to last, Vorin growled. Daniel looked up, coughing blood, but still smiling. No, but I can show them something stronger. He pulled a small device from his belt, the last piece of the peace beacon Saren had designed. Vorin's eyes widened. What have you done? Daniel pressed the button. The beacon activated, releasing a wave of light, not destructive, but pure, bright energy. It spread across the battlefield, reaching every ship, every mind. Echo's voice whispered across all channels. Message transmitting to everyone. Then, Saren's recorded voice echoed through the stars. Peace never dies, it just waits. Every fighter paused. Every weapon lowered. The light continued to spread, and for the first time in centuries, silence fell over the galaxy. Not from death, but from understanding. Voran staggered back, his circuits overloading. No. This is impossible. Daniel stood weakly. You lost because you never understood. Peace isn't the absence of war. It's the courage to forgive. Voran's body cracked, breaking apart. His last words were a whisper. Foolish, human. Then he was gone. The light faded. Across the stars, the ships powered down. The war was over. Daniel collapsed beside the glowing beacon. His vision blurred, but he could see Saren's face in the light. Calm, proud, smiling. Echo spoke softly. Daniel, your vitals are failing. He smiled faintly. Doesn't matter. They'll live. Your mission, completed, Echo said, its voice flickering. Not mine, Daniel whispered. Ours. And with that, he closed his eyes. The beacon continued to shine, brighter, stronger, spreading hope across the galaxy. Years later, children of Kravan and Telari played together under peaceful skies. At the center of the rebuilt council stood a statue, a man and a woman side by side, holding a small glowing beacon. The plaque beneath read, "They fought not to win, but to end the fight." In memory of Daniel Hale and Commander Saren. And as the stars watched silently above, peace, real peace, finally returned to the galaxy.